Hi, Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with drawing some more whimsical faces, and this is again inspired by Quiet Bear, I think Karen Brown, from the mixed cloth paper scissors faces magazine that came out recently. And you can see the other whimsical face on the other page. I've got a video for that, so check that one out too. Both of these are inspired by Karen Brown. So she had sort of some tips and tools about how to map out a face to make it a little bit whimsical. And so I'm just using a Stabilo oil pencil just to draw it out. Now the background of the page, you would have seen me start when I did the first figure. It's actually a gel print that I had, and I glued it down on the page because I just wanted something interesting to draw on. But obviously if you're drawing a figure, having something so brightly coloured can be a blessing or a curse. I don't know what it turned out with in the end, but it made it interesting to be sure. So one of the things that the drawings from Karen really help with is she plays around with the proportions of her faces and her eyes. You'll notice one eye is smaller than the other. They're in funny places in the page as well. And yeah, it's just pushing outside the comfort zone. But the thing I like about it is because I really can't draw photorealistically, I'm not sure how many people really can, I like the fact that it's a bit odd and quirky, and in the magazine itself it's broken down really easily into sort of shapes. Now I can deal with drawing shapes, and if I can think of a shape when I'm drawing it, that really helps me. So for sort of the eye, it's sort of like a circle, then sort of divided into that leaf shape, and then the U shape for the iris is in the middle to make sort of an eye shape happen. So at the moment it looks particularly freaky because I put down some buff paint just to start as a bit of a skin tone and just to cut back that purple colour in the background. I'm also using some of the lime green on the clothing, and I'm trying to make it as thin, as watery as possible, because while I wanted a little bit of colour there, I do want to keep the pattern from the background. I don't want to block that out completely. Otherwise there wouldn't be any point in having it there. So I'm working with a lot of transparent layers to do this piece. The other colour that you can see me using there is fluorescent green, which is a student grade paint from Duravan, which I think is an Australian company, and it's really translucent. Same with the orange that I'm putting into the hair as well. Now just be aware that if you're drawing out with this Stabilo oil pencil, it is a water activated pencil, it's water reactive, so it will shift and do all those funny things that water pencils will do when you're painting with them. I don't mind because that sort of gives me a bit of a shading line to work with. For some people, you know, having something that's suddenly you've got this light colour and you've suddenly got this dark line through it, that might be a bit of an issue. So just be aware that if you're using that, it is going to shift and change. You might want to use an HB pencil or even pastel pencil. A light pastel pencil might work because you can kind of rub those out. Now you're probably thinking, what was the point in drawing in the face if you've just painted over it? But it gave me a bit of an idea and a bit of a practice of what I wanted my face to look like. When I put down the paint though, I put down too much. It was getting too thick, so you can see me scrubbing away a little bit. Again, while I don't want the purple background, I did want to see some of that colour coming out through. So I'm just putting it, taking out as much as I possibly can. Now I'm going in with a chalk pastel. I'm working it over the top and smudging it out. When you're working with the chalk pastel, particularly this is damp paint, you can kind of scrub it in. It's not going to move or shift, so you won't need to fix it. Otherwise you can get some workable fixative and spray it over the top if you're concerned about it smudging onto the next page. To be honest, I wasn't really concerned about that. And now you can sort of see me drawing in those features again. It's a little bit easier to see this time because I've got the base there. It looks really weird when you draw it out. And this is the way I draw my nose. I kind of draw a circle and then do sort of a moustachey thing underneath it. Again, it looks a little bit odd, but once you start putting shading and stuff in, it does kind of come together. Now, I am not an expert at drawing faces. There are many, many, many people on YouTube, that are much, much better. This is just my attempt of trying something. So have a go. And that's one thing I suppose I've got braver at. In the past, I've always said I cannot draw faces, I cannot draw people. Now I just go, oh, it doesn't matter if it looks odd. I can say it's whimsical. And that actually helps. It makes me feel a little bit more relaxed about it. You can see as you sort of add in more detail and more shading, it starts to look a little bit better. But it's just playing around with it until you're happy and being relaxed enough about it to go, well, if it doesn't look right, that's okay. If you really hate it, you can always paint over your page. It doesn't need to stay there. You can see I'm putting in some lighter highlights with my chalk pastels and then putting in some colour as well, just to echo the colour of her hair. One thing that kind of did bug me about this was her hairline. It just has that really, was it not Queen Elizabeth? Yeah, Queen Elizabeth, the old one, not the current one, with the very high forehead. So I wanted to conquer that in some way, shape or form. I don't know if I did in the end, but it sort of gave me a bit of a go. You can see I'm also using a bit of the orange to help shade in my face and using the chalk pastels. I'm also using my finger to sort of blend out the pastels. I find that the oils in your finger, again, help them work into the page a little bit more, so they're a little bit more permanent on your page. If you just sit them on top of the surface, they will tend to rub out. So just be aware, there's lots of things you can do. Again, the workable fixative, if you spray that over the top, that works, but I find just using my fingers on them, that helps a lot. I'm just going in with the oil pencil again, just to add a little bit more shading. For some reason, she's got funky green eyeshadow. I think I was just trying to use lots and lots of bright colours, particularly in contrast to the whimsical figure on the other page. So I'm going in and adding some details to the pupil. I didn't like how that worked, so I'm just going in again and refixing it and just making it look a little bit more even. And adding some more shading to the nose. It certainly looks better from the zombie that I had to begin with, so you know, it's come somewhere. So going in again with the green and just adding in some shading to the clothing as well. The good thing about using chalk pastels is that they will blend in, but they're still kind of translucent. You can sort of blend them in so you can still see what's going on in the background. So you've got that ability to have that see-through effect. Now, these aren't expensive chalk pastels. These are student grade chalk pastels. I bought them years and years ago, so they've lasted a long time. They're the ones I use in my primary school classroom as well. I got them from my local $2 shop or my cheap shop. I'm sure you've got something similar where you live. So they're readily available. You can get absolutely fabulous artist grade, amazing pigmented chalk pastels. You really don't need them for something like this. But if you've got them in your stash, go and use them, because you know, I'm all for using stuff that you've already got. So this is me trying to work with her hair a little bit, and I'm using really, really scratchy lines. You can see I'm holding my pencil up a little bit further than you usually would to hold it, just to try and get those really, really loose lines. It's something, again, I'm trying to work on, trying to get looser, scratchy lines. I'm not sure if I'm achieving it yet, but it's getting there. The other thing that did help was when I sharpened my pencil. So I'm a terror for having blunt pencils and just working with them until they die. Having a good sharpener around and sharpening your pencils does help, particularly if you're using them lots. So now I'm just going in to find some collage words to add to it. I really liked how the words, again in the figure on the right hand side, worked. So I wanted to do something similar on left hand page. So again, I'm using my Dina Wakley collage words, and I'm trimming them out really, really close, because I really don't like having the white halo around your words. I was really impressed with, on the right hand side, how translucent those words got when I glued them down, and I wanted to get the same on this page. I don't think I achieved it in quite the same way, but it kind of worked. Now, just be aware that chalk pastels will move a little bit with wet media, so you may need to go back over the top. I'm trying out a technique that someone very kindly left a comment for me on my YouTube channel, saying that they wet their tissue paper before they glue it down to make it more translucent. So I'm trying that out. So I've just put down some gel medium in the background, I wet my tissue paper, and now I'm just gluing over the top again. To be honest, I'm not sure for this page if it worked as effectively as it may do. I may have done it wrong, so but it worked okay, and they blend in fine, so there's not too much of a white halo, which is good, which is what I was trying to avoid. Just be aware that when you're gluing them down, try not to move them. Obviously everything's a little bit damp, so you don't want them to sort of crinkle up or tear, so just be a little bit gentle when you're doing it. You can see me going in again with the chalk pastel over the top. And I think I put some over the words just to blend them in that little bit more. So there's lots of different tricks and tips that you can use to blend in the collage words, and it just depends. You might not be as worried about the halo as I am. I think I just need to get over it. Hopefully at some stage I will. But until then, I'm going to keep trying. So this is a close-up of my final whimsical image. It was a bit different. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but it was lots of fun to do, and I hope if you have a go that you enjoy it just as much as I did. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.